As the New York Rangers continue to lose game after game and just continue to look absolutely horrible, which really is awful to say as a New York Rangers fan. But if I'm being honest here, this team has been playing terrible and they look terrible, and everything about this team right now is just terrible. So in today's video, I thought we'd take a look towards kind of the future a bit and kind of talk about some of the New York Rangers defensemen currently on this New York Rangers NHL squad who could possibly be a part of the long-term future. And then in another video in the next couple of days, I'll be talking about the kind of forwards and that side of things there on which players could possibly be a long-term pieces for this team. And before we start, I am kind of strictly talking about NHL players on the New York Rangers team, not necessarily all the prospects, as well as I'm talking about guys who I see being here and a part of this team, kind of 3-4 seasons down the road, not necessarily just kind of, next season or the year after that. We're talking more like 3-4 kind of plus years down the road into the future as well. So starting off here, let's talk about the goaltenders, which is pretty quick here, honestly. And, first off, quick, obviously, is a guy who is getting up there in age, pushing towards 40. We'll have to wait and see kind of what happens with him. He's not going to be a long-term future piece, obviously, because I would imagine he has, 2 more seasons after this one in him tops. I wouldn't be surprised if he retired after this season or maybe plays one more, but I can't imagine at all seeing him play more than 2 seasons after this one. So he's really not a long-term piece at all. Maybe just one more season. Maybe he retires. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, I wouldn't be against seeing him come back for, one more season on a 1-year contract, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with him. Then obviously Igor Shesterkin there. He got that massive contract. He's locked in long-term. He's our starting goaltender for the next, many, many, many years. So we're locked in with him. The goalie situation is pretty much locked in place for the most part, other than the backup goaltender spot, which could be eventually won by Dylan Garand, ideally, who is our, I would say current kind of probably best goalie prospect in the system, who's not playing too bad with the Hartford Wolfpack. And now let's shift our focus over towards the defensemen. And I think this is a very interesting conversation, in particular with one New York Rangers player currently, and that is K'Andre Miller. There have been a lot of kind of mixed emotions and feelings about kind of, how he's been as a player over his entire career, really. I mean, the one main thing that sticks out is obviously his lack of physicality. Even though he is, massive, I believe like about 6'5" kind of guy there, weighs quite a bit there. He's obviously not a very physical guy at all, which is very disappointing for a guy of his size there, not having that physical game. Definitely sucks to see. He is a pretty talented guy offensively at moments and can be, looking like a really good kind of shutdown defenseman at moments. But that's the key word there, moments. Not all the time, not most of the time, not 60, 70% of the time. A bit of the time, here and there, he'll have moments when he does look like, a top pairing caliber defenseman having a great kind of two-way game, great offensively and great defensively. But he also has moments when he looks lost out there, is a liability, is getting just kind of shoved off the puck there, is getting shielded away too easily, not having enough fight in his game there, not enough toughness, not enough battle, and all that kind of stuff there. So I think he's a very interesting guy to talk about because, he's an RFA this upcoming offseason, so he's going to need a new contract. And is that new contract going to be given out by the New York Rangers? That's kind of the question there. He could be one of the top kind of trade candidates on the New York Rangers currently. I think he should be. Personally, if you can get some good value out of him, I want to see him traded away. I don't think we're going to see that top pairing kind of guy, that number 2 defenseman, even kind of high number 3 kind of guy, long-term wise. I don't think we're going to see that. Although we still see kind of spurts here and there. He's in his mid-20s now. It's not like he's this kind of young 22, 23-year-old guy anymore. He's starting to push towards his mid-20s there, and he's starting to be kind of the guy that he's probably going to be for the foreseeable future of his career. So in my opinion, if you can get good value out of him, this offseason or before the trade deadline, I say pull the trigger, but obviously we have to wait and see kind of what offers are possibly, shown to the Rangers for K'Andre Miller, who is a very interesting player for sure. Next up here, another interesting young player in Braden Schneider, although this time I do think this is someone who definitely should be a part of the long-term future. I think he's a pretty solid, young, reliable, more defensive defenseman, has that big kind of hitting capability there, can definitely lay a pretty massive hit anywhere on the ice, so that's a nice plus there. He's got that, capability to stick up for teammates and fight a bit there. Has a bit of, a toughness to his game there, which I definitely like, and this team definitely needs more of. So he's someone who I think could be a really solid kind of top 4 defenseman for years and years to come. He obviously is mostly a right-handed defenseman. That's, which way he shoots, right-handed. But we have seen him play a little bit here and there on the left side, which, he's looked all right there as well. So maybe he's got that flexibility and versatility there to be able to play left and right side, long-term wise. That's a nice player to have there who can play both sides. So I think that's an added bonus there with him. And he's still young, still developing, still getting better. And I do imagine him being a, pretty solid second pairing guy for years and years to come, possibly. Worst case scenario, at the very worst, with Braden Schneider, I see him being a very good, bottom pairing guy, like a great number 5 defenseman. So if that's what he becomes, it is what it is. But either way, I think he can be a really solid defenseman for this team long term while having that toughness to his game, which we know we definitely need more of, and that physicality as well. Next up here, 2 depth defensemen in Urho Vakanainen and Chad Ruhwedel, who I don't necessarily see, being long-term pieces. They're depth defensemen at best there. Can play in that bottom pairing here and there, but they're not going to be guys who get locked up long-term and more than likely won't stay on this team, 3-4 years down the road. Then we've got Zach Jones, who I think's in an interesting spot. Me personally, I don't think he's going to be a completely long-term piece. Now, maybe he's here for another season or 2 after this one, but 3-4 years down the road, I don't necessarily think he's going to be here. I would rather see us go in a different direction. I think he's a good player and all, and he's not bad at all. Not a true kind of top 4 caliber guy, but is definitely a solid defenseman. My problem with him is he's obviously got that, lack of size and physicality there, which we need more of. Yes, he's got that puck moving ability, which we definitely, need and kind of need more of as well. But the lack of size there, physicality, playoff experience, hasn't really played a whole ton in the playoffs, obviously at the NHL level, hasn't at all. So this is a guy who I would rather probably see, swapped out for a more veteran defenseman this upcoming offseason or even before the trade deadline. Wouldn't be the worst idea at all either. So maybe we can trade him away, get back an all right prospect or pick or something. But in my opinion, he is not really and really shouldn't be a super long-term piece. Although I'm not against having him on our team. I just think a different type of player is probably what fits this team, kind of needs a little more. Next, we have Ryan Lindgren, who I do not see being a part of the long-term future. In my opinion, he probably walks away in free agency for nothing, which I think is fine at this point. He's really not just playing good hockey at all for this team. He's been a big disappointment and just not playing great hockey. He's not a good puck mover, not good offensively, pretty much brings nothing offensively for the most part, although the odd kind of, nice offensive moment here and there. I don't love his defensive game. I think he's, solid and reliable for the most part, but he's not some elite kind of shutdown top pairing kind of guy, which we play him as a top pairing kind of guy. So I would rather someone better alongside Adam Fox who can just kind of help up bring his game instead of maybe bring him down a bit. So that wouldn't be the worst idea at all. You're just kind of letting him go in free agency. I doubt we trade him away, although if we could trade him away, get something decent back in return, maybe trade for a different defenseman on another team there, make it a 3-way trade, I would not be against that at all. But either way, it just doesn't seem like the most likely scenario to see him come back. So I definitely see him walking away this upcoming offseason and not being a part of the long-term future on this team. And now for Adam Fox here, the final defenseman we're going to talk about in today's video because, Victor Mancini, I know he played on this team, but he had a small sample size there. Still a young prospect. I'm not really going to count him because he's a prospect. Who knows what's going to happen? But I probably do see him, being on this team 3-4 years down the road, especially if he continues to develop like this and continue to play like he kind of has with the Hartford Wolfpack and at moments in the NHL. For Adam Fox, though, I do see him being a part of this team long-term. He's obviously got a pretty big contract right now with quite a few years left on it. He's been a really good defenseman for us. He's won a Norris Trophy there. He's been a number 1 guy for years and years now. He forged his way here pretty much. He wanted to be a Ranger. He's a somewhat local guy, so in my opinion, he is going to be a part of this team long-term. I'm sure most Rangers fans would agree with me on that. And yeah, I think he's going to be the number 1 guy for years and years to come. He's obviously got, a great 2-way game. I'm excited to watch him play for Team USA at this upcoming, Four Nations face-off. So that'll be interesting there. But overall, really solid defenseman Honestly, great defenseman, top tier kind of guy, and definitely should be a part of this team for years and years to come. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, definitely comment down below your thoughts on all this kind of stuff here. Who do you want to see on this team long-term on the team right now? Obviously there's other guys who are going to be added in, traded for, signed in for agency, all that kind of stuff there. But as of right now, who's on this team right now that you want to see long-term from the defensive side of things there? And then in a later video, we will get to the forwards and stuff like that. But anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for daily New York Rangers content. I'll catch you next one. See ya.